Hello, 22 Tony here with another discussion on collecting vintage and antique ammo. I know it's been some time since last time I made one of these videos, and I know some of you have eagerly been anticipating a new one. Times have changed and my priorities have changed a little bit, and I just haven't had the time to do these like I have in the past. Also, my collecting has changed a little bit, and I'm not looking for all the same items that I had been looking for in the past, so that's also affected my ability to make too many videos. But over the past year or so, I've come across a few really interesting items and a few kind of interesting items, and I just thought it was time to put together a video and kind of cover a broad spectrum today. So today the first thing I want to talk about is our old friend, the 38 Rimfire. We have talked about 38 Rimfire in the past, but I just wanted to mention it again because I was lucky enough to come across a couple of boxes full. They're open, but they're factory full boxes of 38 Rimfire short. These boxes are in fairly good condition when you consider they're easily 100 years old, and as I said, they are factory full, and the ammo is still fireable today. And there are people that are buying this ammo to fire it. It is not inexpensive. A box like this in this condition on Gunbroker, I would think, would bring somewhere in the $100 range. Now these are the 38 short. 38 Rimfire came 38 short, 38 long, and then there was an extra long that I don't have an example here. The next thing that I was lucky enough to come across is not super rare, but a little unusual, and you may not have heard of it. This is the 250-3000. It's also known as the 250 Savage. So as 250 Savage, you may have heard of it. The 250-3000 was created in about 1915, and it was basically named the 3000 because the load at the time was able to reach 3,000 feet per second. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Next thing I have is, again, not a super rare item, but just kind of interesting. I found this at a gun range, kind of dug it up out of the dirt, and it shows. It's a 6mm Remington. 6mm Remington is basically just a neck-down 257 Roberts. Originally it was called a 244 Remington. So again, not super rare, but something that you don't see every day, and I just wanted to show what I found, lucky enough to find at the gun range. Now, next item I want to show you, this is one that I actually hadn't heard of. I had to do a little bit of research on it, and this is part of the fun of collecting ammo, that I spent a couple of hours trying to track down what exactly this was. At auction, I bought this bag of 30 rounds, and on the bag it says 256 Johnson, 60 grain bullets. Well, there never really was a 256 Johnson. I think they were referring to a 256 Winchester Magnum, which is a very similar round. But when I started measuring it, it was close, but it just wasn't quite right. There was something wrong. The 256 Winchester is a neck-down 357 Magnum, and these ones just weren't quite there. There was something just not right about them. And as I decided to look a little further, I was checking them. They have military head stamps, which doesn't help anybody except military people, apparently. So I still was kind of lost on what these were. Well, I was lucky enough, a couple of them have a 30 carbine head stamp. Well, that gave me somewhere to look. I started looking at 30 carbine and tried to figure out what this was. Well, it turns out what it really is a 5.7mm Johnson Spitfire. It's also known as a 22 Spitfire. These were developed in 1963. It was, they did a conversion of the M1 carbine to neck it down to a 22 caliber bullet. It was a little bit lighter weight, trajectory is a little bit better on it, and it was produced for a few years at least. The military did use these, and they were also available in the civilian market. But again, it was something I had just never heard of, a 5.7mm Johnson Spitfire. So that's where those come in. Next to it's another kind of a curiosity. I doubt it's anything particularly rare. What this is a 357 Magnum with, it looked like it was a plastic bullet. It's a very lightweight bullet. It turns out when I ripped one apart, I believe it's aluminum. It is a metal. It's non-magnetic. And I think it's aluminum. It's 44 grains. Not quite sure what the purpose of that is, and some of you probably know. You can leave it in the notes and then everybody will know. But it's 357 Magnum with an aluminum bullet. Okay, then I got some more older curiosities here. First I've got a 4065 Winchester. And next to it I've got a 4060 Marlin. Okay, these are supposed to be interchangeable. They were introduced in the late 1800s. They were originally black powder cartridges. And like I said, they were supposed to be interchangeable, but as you look at them, there is a slight difference. The Marlin is just a little bit longer, so I don't know if that's going to make a difference in the old 4065 Winchester rifles, but I found several different sources said they were interchangeable. Next thing I have is a 4570. This was made for the 1873 trapdoor Springfield. The U.S. Army was looking for a replacement for the temporary 50 caliber bullets they were using. So that's where it got its name as the 45 Government. So it's either a 4570 or a 45 Government, the same thing. Next to that I've got, this is a oddball that you probably have never heard of and almost certainly haven't seen unless you go to a lot of ammo shows. This is a 9.3 by 72. Germany had a 9.3 by 74, sort of around 1900-ish. It was actually an adaptation of this. So it was lengthened a little bit. I'm not sure what the purpose for that was, but they adapted the 9.3 by 72 to become a 9.3 by 74 millimeter. So again, something that's just an oddball you don't see every day. Okay, back here in the back, I've got a couple things. These aren't rare at all. Just put it out there because the way our ammo situation has been recently and the price of ammo, everybody's looking how they can get ammo at a reasonable price. Well, these are 30-06 Springfield, and as you can see, this is a military clip. It was actually less expensive for me to buy these than I could buy any other 30-06 ammo. I think I paid $2 for the clip loaded with 8 rounds. Well, you can't get 30-06 ammo for anything close to that anywhere today. So something to keep an eye out for. Every once in a while you come across a bargain like that. I just thought I'd mention it. The last thing I've got showing here, another one that's not particularly rare, it's just something you may not have actually seen. This is a 3220 Winchester. It's also known as the 32 WCF, or Winchester Centerfire. It was the first small game lever action cartridge made by Winchester, and that's where it got its popularity. And there are still people using the 3220 today. So thought I'd mention that. Well, part of my discussions from the start have always been about alternate ways of collecting. My way of collecting isn't necessarily your way. As you can see, I've picked up an odd list of things from all across the board here. I've got Rimfire, Centerfires, I got military cartridges, I've got standard production items. I just pick up things that are amusing to me. Other people are more focused than I am, and I understand that. So that's why I want to mention some of the other different ways that you might want to collect. How I got started, and if you've watched my earlier videos, you know, was collecting 22 boxes. This isn't a particularly rare one, it's just one I had sitting on my desk, is Peter's 22 short. So you don't see a lot of 22 short, but they're definitely out there. Just kind of an interesting box I had sitting on my desk, and just a way to mention that, you know, my way of collecting isn't necessarily your way, and if you want to collect boxes, collect boxes. Another thing I had here that is becoming pretty popular from what I understand is BBs. Now here's a Daisy. You know, these we've all seen. Any of us had a BB gun as a kid are probably familiar with the tube of Daisy BBs. What you may not be familiar with is the Winchester air rifle shot. A copper-coated steel Winchester BBs. The Winchester collectors love these, BB collectors love these, airgun collectors love them. So just kind of an interesting thing. I picked this up at a garage sale for $1. They're out there. They're not anywhere near as common as the Daisy item, but they're available. Another thing that I just picked up recently and I thought was kind of interesting, it's probably got zero value, but it was interesting to me, so I kept it. Somebody built themselves a powder measure, and I assume this is for reloading, and they made this out of a 32 Smith & Wesson long cartridge. They cut it down to whatever length they needed for the amount of powder they needed, and they built themselves a little powder measure. So again, probably zero value, but it was interesting to me, so I picked it up and I'll set it aside with my other items. Now the last thing I wanted to talk about as far as ammo, this is one that's really cool. I had heard about them. I had never seen one until I came across this box. This is the VL caseless ammunition. These are 22 caseless rounds, 22 caliber caseless rounds. They're built into a tube, and they go into a Daisy VL air rifle. They were introduced in 1968. Daisy had some method that it was very similar to their other air rifles, but the compressed air was heated up through some type of a chamber to the point where it was able to ignite the charge in these caseless rounds. They were originally designed as an air rifle, that this was a boy's rifle that, just like the BB gun that many of us got as a child. Daisy had advertised them that way and was planning on selling them that way. But in 1969, the ATF got wind of it and decided that it was a firearm. Daisy's not licensed to make firearms, and they didn't want to go through the process of becoming licensed to make firearms. So they dropped the line. So these you just don't come across. This full box, 100 rounds, 22 caliber, caseless ammunition. Just I thought that was really cool, something that you probably will never come across again unless you go to a specialty show of some sort. I don't think they're super valuable because I don't think there are very many of those guns left out there. But I think if somebody had one of those Daisy VL rifles, they would be really happy to get a box of these caseless ammo. Caseless ammo, also one of the things that I've started since my very first video is I've encouraged you to actually do your own research. Go a little bit further, see what's out there, and see what you can find out about it. Caseless ammo is something I think is really interesting. I know Heckler & Koch did a rifle that shot caseless ammo. It could shoot a 3-round burst so fast that the first bullet had not left the barrel by the time the third bullet was fired. So all 3 bullets were in the barrel. Just amazing what they could do with it. There's a lot of drawbacks, but again, this is where I want you to do your own research and see what you can find out. Now there's one last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to be a little bit selfish on this. In the back, during this whole video, you've seen my 1973 Daisy Model 450 pellet gun. These were very limited. Apparently they weren't real super popular. They were only made for 2 years, and Daisy discontinued them. But it was the air gun that I got as a child. I didn't get a BB gun, I had a pellet gun. And I loved it. Spent many years until I was old enough to do any real hunting, carrying my pellet gun everywhere. Now, this is not the original. This one is a replacement. My original is long gone. We won't go into that, but this was a replacement that I was lucky enough to get. There's one thing missing, though, and this is where I want to be selfish. Originally, this had a red, round, 5-shot clip that went in right here onto the barrel. I haven't been able to find one of them. I've contacted Daisy, they don't have them. I've contacted a few repair places and nobody's got these things. If anybody knows where I can get one, if you have one, if you've seen them, please private message me, let me know. I'm certainly willing to pay a fair price for one, but I would absolutely love to get that original red Daisy clip that goes in the model 400 or 450 air rifle. Well, that's it for today. Again, this is 22 Tony. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and hopefully you got something to think about, and maybe you have some of these things on your own, or maybe you're going to go out looking for them. But it's a great hobby, and I hope you enjoy being part of it. Thanks for watching.